Today, we are playing on a dyno.
And as you can see, here we are at Avon Tuning to find out who has the healthiest and most powerful car to start with.
To start with,
The
TT is already on the dyno, but before this,
we done a lot of health checks to make sure that they were safe to go on there.
and it was sort of healthy.
Here I am at Avon Tuning with my wonderful TT, but Gareth has something else that he wants to say about it.
Yeah, 1.8Ts are generally pretty unreliable these days from a tuning perspective, but you might surprise us, mate.
I don't believe that at all. I've had these before and I've always thought they were really, really good.
What, we'll start with a health check, see what happens.
That's fine, let's do it. I don't think it's got that many problems. I don't reckon it's leaking boost or vacuum. I just know it's got an airbag fault.
It's not leaking boost.
I don't reckon so.
Are you sure?
No. Where's my thing? There it is. Oh, look at that.
You've only got 5 valves.
I know. It's not enough, is it? This is secure.
You've got a Halford Special.
It's disgusting. Honestly, that is like the worst part of it. And an eBay special. Look at that.
Oil catch can.
Does the job though.
Standard Chinese, right?
Hey, that was 15 quid, and one from somewhere else was like 100 quid. And it's the same thing. It catches stuff that I don't want to go in the engine.
Okay, so we'll start with the scan. We good old VAGCOM, see what we got.
So this is going to tell us what?
It's gonna
all historical faults, or just anything
any
current?
faults that are currently active or historic and haven't been cleared down.
Right. So it could be 20 years worth of faults in it.
They could be if someone's not cleared anything down. Right, it's going to do an auto scan. That is probably going to take 5 minutes. Oh, it might not actually. It's probably only about 4 control modules in a classic like this.
So VAGCOM is not readily available to the public. It's not something someone can do at home.
No, it is actually. It's readily available to the public. If you're an end user at home and you want VAGCOM, you can actually buy a single VIN VAGCOM.
Right.
So it's much cheaper than a professional multi-VIN like this, where you can use it as much as you like on as many vehicles as you like. But if you've got a VAG at home and you want VAGCOM, you can buy a genuine VAGCOM with a single VIN, and then it just locks to that VIN, so you can use it on that car and only that car.
Can you add a VIN to it if you change your car?
I think you can have like multiple VINs, maybe buy a 3 VIN package.
So you think it's a good idea for people to have access to this at home?
Definitely, yeah. It's brilliant value for money. It's a professional tool that you can use at home. You're able to check faults, clear faults, do adaptions, service resets, wind back the calipers on modern VAGs for doing pad changes and things like that.
And any of the adaptions you're able to do, could any of them damage the vehicle, or is it only like an option that's acceptable from
Adaptions
factory?
wouldn't damage, but you could go into coding and switch features on or off, and you can mess that up and switch features off that you don't want switching off and things like that. So do an auto scan, save the coding. Just basically, if you're going to go into crazy functions, if you're going to mess about with shit, then make sure you back it up. Full auto scan, so it scanned every control module in the car, and it lets us know if there's any faults in those modules. So module 1 is the engine.
And there's no faults.
3 faults. Exhaust gas temp sensor 1, open or short to plus. Bank 1, camshaft. Retard set point not reached, over advanced intermittent. And error in mapped cooling system. Check temp sensor and thermostat. Okay, so we've got 3 faults. Doesn't mean that it doesn't actually tell us if they're active or not. We'll have to go into the control module and extract a bit more information. Then we can use data logs and things like that. So this just tells us that there are 3 recorded faults. It doesn't tell us at the moment if they're still active or if they're actually problems or not.
And the exhaust gas temp, that doesn't matter, does it?
It sort of does. Exhaust gas temp sensor 1 is a very, very important sensor because it keeps an eye on combustion temps. So if things are going on,
my pistons.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So there's protections in the ECU. If EGTs go over this amount, then start closing back the throttle, protecting itself.
If the car was previously mapped, though, VAGCOM wouldn't know, right?
VAGCOM wouldn't know.
So it could have been mapped, and that's what could cause errors like this?
Well, that says open or short to plus, which generally means an electronic fault. So the sensor's either faulty, or the wiring's faulty, or the ECU's faulty, but probably a faulty sensor. At the moment, nothing too concerning. This just checking faults isn't really a diagnostic. It's there to give you an indication if there's any issues.
Shut the Haldex down on the dyno.
Only if you're running it 2-wheel drive.
Right. Okay.
But we'll run it 4-wheel drive on our dyno.
Right, okay.
So we don't have to do that.
It still gives a true power run, does it?
Yeah.
Because I know the Haldex obviously switches as it needs it. Does it?
Yeah, so with our dyno, because it's a linked dyno, the front rollers and the rear rollers are linked, hydraulically linked.
It will combine.
So it's as if it's driving on the road. Doesn't matter if the car switches the Haldex on or off, it won't affect our dyno. Actually quite clean so far.
Yeah, you're impressed, didn't
Yeah. Normally there's a list of about 40 faults.
This was £800 because it needed the clutch to it. And
£800?
Yeah, and it hadn't had a cam belt for 100,000 miles. So that's all been done now. Because I was like, it's not coming here without having the cam belt done.
Where do you buy it from? Private?
Marketplace, mate. Oh. Yeah.
Ever reliable marketplace.
Well, where would you have bought it from?
I wouldn't have bought one.
No, I knew you were going to say that. So it's on the dipstick. It's not at maximum on the dipstick, but it is on the dipstick because I dipped it the other day and I was like, well, oil's gone somewhere.
That's perfect.
Look at that.
Look at that.
It's good, isn't it?
Nice black colour.
I want you to do a health check on Chris's car because 100% he has not even checked the oil.
Coolant's above the min.
That's
Below the
because
mats.
guy had done the cam belt, topped the coolant up, lovely. They don't really unscrew that. There we go.
Yeah, you pull and turn.
There's no bits holding the back.
Right, well, what we're going to do, we're going to do a smoke test. So what we'll do, we're going to connect a smoke machine. We can take this off,
Yeah.
put like a bladder, blow-up bladder in there, which will seal it, and then we'll put smoke down it, and that will send smoke all the way down through the turbo, through all the boost pipes, into all the vacuum pipes, etc., and basically you don't want to see smoke.
There's a boost leak's one of those things that you'll chase and chase and chase.
Yeah,
and chase.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Unless you've got someone who's got the capability of smoke testing it, you'll never find it. Unless you've got a great big tear in a visible pipe.
Yeah, quite right.
Then
And there are some boost leaks as well that are only,
tiny. Like
yeah, and they
pills.
only become really big leaks under boost. So when it
Under-
hits a bar of boost, all of a
Yeah.
sudden it swells up and actually leaks quite a bit.
You chuck 20 psi in it, all of a
Exactly.
sudden it's this big, and then it's back
Yeah,
to
exactly.
tiny and you can't see it.
Exactly. So with the smoke machine, we can wind up the pressure on it, but then you struggle to actually contain it within that turbo intake
Yeah.
pipe. But we'll see. We'll give it a go.
Let's see what we've got.
Not giving out any smoke.
So I'm guessing there's just a heating element in there that just...
Yeah. Believe so, mate. Looks like we're out of baby oil.
Did he?
We're out of oil. Someone used all the oil.
What engine was that on? Probably an R53 Cooper S, wasn't
I think it was a 1.8T
it?
actually.
No, it wasn't.
No cup holders.
Sports Coupe, you don't need a cup holder.
Are you sure? There's no cup holders.
No.
It's got to be.
There's
Not the standard VAG where they pop out.
No, but if you open the dash, there is some little circles in the glove box, but you wouldn't want to drive with it balanced on there.
Let's do a relative compression test on it while we're waiting.
Oh no, that doesn't sound very good.
So relative, you put up a scope and you just connect it to the battery and it measures the pulse of the starter motor pulling the ampage,
Right.
and then it tells you. Doesn't tell you if it will tell you the balance between all the
Yeah,
cylinders.
it won't
so if
tell you
one's
what it is,
Yeah,
but-
yeah, it won't
right.
tell you what the compression is. We could do an actual compression test, but it might be.
So when I had the sump up, I looked up at the bores and they looked all right.
it looked all right.
Yeah. Didn't look
Looked
so
okay.
bad. Yeah,
They were there.
Didn't have any scores in them or anything, so...
Well, the thing is, the compression test could be anything. It could be warm piston rings. It could be valves not seating correctly. As I said, we could do a proper compression test where you physically put a gauge on there, or if we just want to do a very quick test, which we sometimes do if something of this age comes in, just quick relative compression test because it's quick, simple, non-intrusive, and it'll tell us if any of the cylinders are down. Then if one is down, we'll then put a proper gauge on it and tell you how it really is.
The whole point of this is to show people that you can buy a cheap car still. There's not very many, but you can buy a cheap car and have a bit of fun with it because everything's just too expensive now.
Yeah.
Like everything that we used to run for track and stuff is now out of reach.
Yeah.
And I think actually the TTs are rock bottom and so are the minis. So that's what we.
I
opted
don't
for
think
these.
we'll have any compression issues.
Good.
I don't. It's
Or
not
boost
something-
leaks.
We will have boost leaks. 100%. Crank engine.
That good?
Yeah. I think we need to do it again because I don't believe it.
Why?
It's too good.
No way, that's right.
What do you mean? Why? Because they're all perfect.
That's right. It's on like 160 odd thousand, isn't it?
Look at that.
Doesn't mean that all four cylinders aren't down on compression. It just means they could all be down on compression by the exact same amount.
They're all at 60%.
Which is perfect. All right, this is
Well,
good.
Yeah, it is good. It is
Green
very, very good.
Great
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
Did he? Come on, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump. Oh, there we go. No boost leaks. Cool. Job's done.
That ball drops down. Well, actually, even if it moves down from the top, it means there's no leaks. But I can already see smoke pissing out of everywhere.
Where?
It's coming out around it here.
Yeah, but that's because it's pressurising inside the block.
Yeah, but it's minute.
What? It's
It's got a
not.
vacuum leak.
It's not meant to pressurise the rocker, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Considering all the pipes are all linked into the
Yeah.
So what? So I'll leak boost out of here.
No, you won't leak boost, but it'll become a vacuum leak.
Right. Okay.
So it's testing two things. It's testing the boost pipes and the vacuum system.
Right. I don't care about vacuum. It's only on boost that I worry about.
Well,
That's definitely coming out of here,
from
right?
Yeah.
I fixed it. There we go.
So when
Right.
it vacuums down, it'll probably seal itself.
yeah.
Right. So
Vacuum leaks are still a massive problem though.
he doesn't know what to say now, does he? He's like,
Well, well,
it's quite impressive, isn't it?
just wind the pressure up a bit.
You're trying to move up. Oh, there you go, like that.
It's a good sign that is though.
Whew. Well, I think it's pretty good.
I think.
You're impressed,
Well,
and I'm
basically
got to eat
impressed.
shit.
It's only got one leak. Congratulations, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to these?
Only the one leak.
Yeah, I know, but I haven't really fixed that bit. But I've done all the rest of this shit. It's all right. That's good.
Very good, mate.
Yeah.
Very good.
Never.
Whiz it down the road. Mile
Why
or two.
don't you just whiz it down the road?
Yeah, I might.
Yeah, then you can go.
I get a real feel for it.
Oh, Stros.
Okay.
The suspension
I
feels like
will
shit, but
whiz it.
yeah, that's fine. You can whiz it.
Actually feels pretty good. Surprised. It's not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be so far. Gearbox feels pretty good. It slides into gear, no issue at all. This car keeps surprising me, to be honest. But I can feel it building boost. Boost comes in just about 2,000 RPM, where I'd expect. So far, I can't actually fault this car. So the only thing I've noticed actually is it does seem to be burning a bit of oil. You can see it when you put your foot down. I mean, earlier when we pulled out the workshop, we gave it a bit of a rev and it blew out a lot of oil. But in all fairness, we'd just done a relative compression test on it. We had smoke tested it, which had pressurized the oil and the rocker cover and things like that. So it would be a bit unfair to condemn it based on smoke after doing all those tests. But now we've just taken it out on the road and given it a bit of a blast up the road, and it's still smoking a bit. So it looks to be burning a bit of oil. Apart from a little bit of smoke, can't really find much else wrong with it. So Chris is going to hook this up on the dyno. So what he's just done then, sorry mate, he's just centralised it on the dyno. So just get the car central in the dyno. Now he's going to hook it up, 2 straps at the front, 2 straps at the back, and then we'll run her up.
So you think it's going to make?
So it should be 225
Yeah.
back in 2000. So what, 24 years ago?
And at 0 miles.
They generally do make what they should. I think, so far, based on all the health checks and just driving it down the road, it feels pretty good. I reckon it'll do 215.
215.
Maybe
So only
220.
10 horsepower loss over
Yeah.
23 years
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That'll be good. I'd be impressed if it still holds that sort of power. Like, it feels good, but you just never know, do you? Your bum can lie sometimes.
Well, the thing about engines and cars from 2001 is that they were built to last.
Not
So-
anymore.
Yeah, well,
It's not an EcoBoost, is it?
No.
So
No.
we should be all right.
So, it hasn't got direct injection, so it hasn't got problems with carbon buildup on the valves. It
should still run clean.
it should still make what it left the factory with.
There's only one way to find out now.
We'll see.
Let's run it and find out.
So we did 3 power runs, test 1, test 2, test 3. First of all, incredibly consistent. As you can see, it's basically made exactly the same power and torque.
So the engine's like new.
Arguably.
It's aged well.
It just means that it's not overheating. I mean, it's a very, very cold day today.
Yeah.
But either way, it just means that the cooling system on the car, the intercooler, everything's handling the car and the power it's currently set to, no issue whatsoever. So, over here we can see we've made 231 horsepower and basically 300 newton meters.
So
And
factory it was 225, but it has got the downpipe on it, so that might be increasing the power slightly. But if you had to try and back calculate if that downpipe wasn't there, how much do you reckon it would have lost? What any idea on a gain that you would normally get
on a 1.8T, fitting a downpipe? You've got to assume it's going to help about 10 horse.
Right, so we've probably lost 5 horsepower.
So every bolt-on mod is 10 horsepower.
And stick is a 5. So actually, it's done very well.
I think the crappy air filter that's on it has done nothing, in my opinion.
That'll add 5 horsepower when
I
you
reckon
change
it's all
that.
about the downpipe.
Yeah.
The question
very
is,
true.
if you buy a 2024 car and in 20 years
Done that.
do that, it's not going to do that.
It's not going to last the 20 years,
It won't be there. It won't be on the road in 20 years. No way.
Anyway, should we get the Mini in?
I think so.
I think we're going to be very disappointed with the Mini.
I'm not.
I'm annoyed that this went first because the Mini's going to be awful.
Yeah, you liked the Mini.
I did like the Mini. You're changing me. I'm transitioning.
Want to buy
You're
it?
transitioning, are you? Let's go, shall we? Right, so Gareth, this is my R53 Mini.
Cool.
You didn't say you hate it.
I don't hate it.
So you like these?
I like R53 Minis. I think they're cool. The supercharged hatchback.
Better than the TT?
For me personally, yeah. Yeah.
Not better on power though.
No, not as...
Not as easily tunable.
Yeah, you could just bang a map on a 1.8T
Right.
if it's not full of boost leaks, and it will make good power. This, you're going to have to, spend a bit of money on hardware to get something decent out of it. But a little bit of money on hardware, which it's already got an upgraded intercooler,
And it's got an amazing,
cold air intake.
questionable.
But yeah, bang a reduced pulley on it, spin the supercharger faster, and away you go. And injectors, really. So we'll start with the diagnostic, see if we've got any faults, and go from there.
It's got big buttons for people that are blind. It's for the older generation, yeah? So they can see what they're doing.
It's for the experienced people with poor eyes. 1 fault in the engine ECU so far, 3 in the ABS.
I
1 in the
keep
airbag,
losing traction control, so I definitely have an ABS fault.
3 in...
Fault everywhere.
So it's basically like Nick. There's lots of random little faults, but it still operates somehow.
Oh,
Really bad news, I think, mate.
There is quite a lot of
No, there's a lot of faults. Almost every control module on the car has a fault in it, but doesn't really matter massively because all we're really interested in is the engine.
It does run.
So I'm not really concerned. It's not abnormal to get a car.
Can we just
in.
clear them all
That's the plan.
and then see if any come back?
That's the plan, mate. Yeah. So at the moment, in the engine ECU, we've got 1 fault, camshaft sensor 1, malfunction, but it's absent at the moment. It might go present with the engine running. Who knows? We'll check that out. But we'll clear everything, do some more tests, go out on a test drive, come back, check for faults, dyno it, and go from there.
Sweet.
But 1 fault in the engine ECU as opposed to 3 in the TT. So in my opinion, this car's worth winning. Relative compression test time.
Yep.
Your job is to go in the car, foot all the way down the accelerator, which will open the throttle flap,
Yep.
and then crank it. We've unplugged. Ideally, you'd unplug the injectors
Yeah.
to stop fuel going in there,
Fine.
but they're under here.
The fuel doesn't come in this car very well anyway, so don't worry about that.
So we've just unplugged the spark.
Okay, fine. Let's do that then.
oh no.
Oh no! Oh,
It's fine.
it's still good, to be honest. It's not quite as good as the TT, which are all above 98%, but lowest one we got is 95%, but it's still very, very, very good.
That's fine.
So yeah, another beauty. Well done, boys.
Good at buying shit boxes.
We are good at buying shit boxes.
Days up.
Where's your battery, Chris?
In the boot. Motorsport car, see? Already got a rear mount battery.
We've got to have some points on the front here, surely. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so that little.
Have you done up there?
We find it just smokes out of everywhere, yeah? and it'd be way worse than the TT.
Yeah, that'd be ironic, wouldn't it? Yeah, there's only 2 places it can leak from, and it's leaking from both
Is this
of them.
leaking from this joint?
All I can think it is, or the problem with the smoke machines, the smoke like drifts, so it could just
It's
be
probably
drifting
just
under
drifting
there
under,
and then coming
yeah.
up here.
Yeah, they do uprated ones of those, so I'm better just replacing it with a new one.
But
Okay.
we'll see what it does on the dyno.
Probably a whole 160 brake horsepower, if that.
120 probably.
It doesn't
Well,
feel very quick.
Let's do a.
It's disappointingly slow at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not like I remember them being. But then the problem is, because I now drive a lot of EVs,
Yeah.
nothing feels quick anymore.
These are very linear as well.
Yeah, but then an EV is the same, but it's just, I don't know.
But EV's got that
Yeah.
torque punch, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Which this won't have.
So EVs have ruined everything for me.
They've ruined a lot
Yeah.
for everyone.
Especially your business.
Started. Okay. Little test drive, just to get a general feel for it. Chris thinks it's underpowered, so let's see how it feels. It's a lot stiffer than the TT. It's quite a bit more rattly. Something's not right, in my opinion. I'd be amazed if it makes 160 horsepower on the dyno. I reckon it's about 130, 140 maybe. But we'll see. You never know. But it's a bit of a shed, I think. I think the TT is a better car. Not in general, but out of these 2 examples, I think the TT is a much, much better example. This is ropey. Knocking all over the place. Gearbox doesn't feel good. It's underpowered, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a shed. It's pretty shit. Yeah, it feels underpowered. Not massively. It does. Pull all the way through the rev range, but it does.
It's not as quick as I remember them being.
I don't think so. No. Like you say, it's hard sometimes. It's such a long time ago that you drove one. It's been a long time since I've drove one. Sometimes have you been skewed by the more powerful stuff that you drive these days?
Because you drove the TT.
Yeah.
That's what drove TT first, and now this doesn't match
But
up.
it's quite notchy going to gear. Feels like the springs are being replaced with concrete.
I like that bit.
Stiff.
Stiff, exactly. Good for track.
Motorsport.
Yeah, motorsport.
Yeah.
Do you still
That's what I
like
think.
this one?
He likes the idea of it, just not this
I liked
model.
them when they were new.
Not that one. Oh dear.
All right, let's dyno it then.
The Mini's now been strapped down and set up on the dyno, and I'm really worried about how much power it's actually going to make.
So, Chris, not very good, is it, mate?
Not very good at all.
So yeah, she isn't doing quite what we expected. So peak power at the crank, 139 horse, which is actually what we probably
Guessed.
guessed it would be, mate.
But it should be like 160-ish.
I expect to see about 160 horse, yeah. So there's obviously a few underlying issues. The logs will probably help to tell us that. We know there's a couple of boost leaks.
Yep.
And it could be further issues, but that's something you can pull it apart and see what you can find, mate. But yeah, torque-wise, at the crank, 189 newton meters, and power 139 horse.
You've sold a bit of a dud. It definitely doesn't have that reduction pulley on. That
It
was
definitely doesn't have a
put in
reduction
the
pulley
ad.
on it. Yeah, and that intake clearly is not helping.
No. Well, it picks up from the wrong direction, so I wouldn't say it helps very well neither.
Okay, well, we'll go away, do lots of modifications.
Come
Lots
back.
of bolt-on parts,
Lots and lots of bolt-on parts.
and then come back. But with the injectors, all the other stuff done, what do you expect to see this do?
200 horse.
200.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've seen up to 230
Okay,
with a 19% reduction front mount intercooler.
so I'm going 17%
Yeah.
reduction.
Go 17.
Safer. Doesn't melt things.
Exactly. The problem with 19% is the intake temps.
Right.
And with a top mount intercooler, they're really, really inefficient.
Fine.
because they just don't get the airflow. So when I said we've seen 230 horse with 19% reduction pulley, you really need a big front mount.
Okay.
Where it's got a lot of airflow, but it's getting expensive if you're putting front mount intercoolers.
They're
and
not
stuff like
really
that.
set up the engines to
No.
be ducted that direction,
No.
are they? The way they come out of the,
No, exactly.
the charger.
So I'd go 17%, 550 injectors,
Yep.
fix the boost leaks, come back, see what it does.
Fingers crossed. Well, thanks, Gareth, for showing us how bad our cars really are.
Hang on a minute. Mine actually passed all its tests pretty well.
The Mini clearly has to have a lot of work done on it, doesn't it, Nicholas?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, it made okay power, but when you drive that car, it does not feel like it is producing.
Well, the only way I'm going to prove that is actually put a load of bolt-on parts on the Mini. Things like supercharger pulley, injectors, and a pile of other bits.
I hope some of these bits are for me too. There's an awful lot there if they're only for one car.
I see you've gone all out on some high-performance max speed and rod suspension, Nick.
Hey, if you're going to do it on a budget suspension. I mean, I could have spent £1,000 on suspension, but instead, he's like £260.
You get an awful lot of bits for the money.
I don't know how well they last, but
Well, better than what's on there.
yeah, what's on there is then 165k and does not feel good.
As much as the Mini wasn't very fast, or didn't do very well on the dyno, it still needs to stop.
With brake fluid
With brake fluid, ideally, yeah.
and
brakes.
and braided lines.
But they stop for a little bit of expansion, don't they?
I do.
More response.
And they look cool.
This thing will add about 10 horsepower, I'm sure.
That's 15, I reckon. 'cause
15 horsepower in there.
You've got a cold air intake.
Congratulations, you made it to an end of an episode with me and Nick in.
You have. So a big pat on the back for you for that. And make sure you subscribe for the next episode where we're going to start fitting some of these parts to our cars.
And hopefully get some extra horsepowers.
We sure will. We'll see you soon.